Hello and welcome to A Fire to Fly Her By,
That
a Firefly
works.
podcast.
I like that.
My name is Jake, and I'm joined by
Chris.
Ames.
Caitlin.
Name is D. Rogers. Simon Tam said trans rights.
Did he?
No.
Oh, he would.
Sean Maher is gay, actually, in the real world.
Is that the actor who plays Simon?
That is the actor who plays Simon.
His actor is named Simon as well?
No, it's Sean.
Sean. I heard you say Simon. Yikes.
Sean, Simon.
Hey, listeners, I'm back here aboard the good ship Serenity.
Yay, D!
Yay.
Next time you're on, can you just start with the bitch is back? Or have you done that before?
I haven't, but I will next time.
Oh my god, please.
So if you've been following along with our pod thing, we are currently on vacay on Risa, but our doubles have taken over for us on the show.
Good. Whilst we and Jordy get Manchurian candidated, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We're actually...
And someone gets beaten to death with a Horgon. I don't know.
That's my kink, okay?
That's just how things go.
Now I'm just thinking about the movie Multiplicity.
Why?
Is that, that's the
That's one with
Michael Keaton one, right?
Keaton.
Yeah,
gets
the first-
copied a bunch of times.
Well, and the first clone he makes is like, so it can kind of do his job for him while he can chill out. But anyway, sorry, this is not a Multiplicity podcast.
It could
Could
be.
be.
We're on break from our
movie ain't
Firefly
great,
podcast.
so I'm going to say no. Other than
I liked Michael Keaton.
yeah, other than
We should
Michael
do
Keaton,
this.
that movie does. If we're going
Hey,
to
what are we doing here today, Jake?
well, so anyway, we're doing a little shore leave here, and this is shore leave number
5?
5. Sure.
5, yes.
Yep, shore leave 5, and we are of course covering Firefly, the short-lived television series from Fox and Friends.
No, a fox and his friends.
Yes.
The Fantastic Mr. Fox?
So there we go. So this week we will be covering episodes 9 and 10 of the show. That is Ariel and War Stories. We'll be talking about Ariel. In Ariel,
A sans serif font.
yes.
It's spelled differently, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, actually.
Sorry to inform you.
Thanks for
No,
mansplaining fonts.
Yeah, Ames.
It's usually Jake's job.
I know, right? Anyway, Inara has to go to Ariel, which is like the capital, or just like a big fancy planet. You know, it's like a city. It's nice, Toronto-y. They decide that they're, we're going to go check out this planet. Inara has to go there to get her checkup, which I guess is a requirement for her job, which is good,
Makes sense.
Yeah. But while they're there, they're like, all right, we're not going to do anything. And then Simon's like, my sister, I could do a brain scan on her, but we have to sneak into this hospital. So I need you to help me to sneak into this hospital. And they're like, no, that's bullshit. We're not going to do that. And he's like, oh, by the way, there's a lot of stuff to steal in the hospital that you can sell for big bucks. And they're like, oh, and second thought, yeah, let's help. So they do just that. They plan this whole heist, kind of Ocean's 11 it. They gather all the parts. They make a fake ambulance. And
Which one of them sings, though?
What? Does that happen in the thing?
In the original Ocean's 11 was a
the
musical.
one no one's
Sorry.
seen.
It was?
Of course.
The 60s.
Leave it to Chris to make the pop culture reference no one will get.
Yes, accurate. Welcome to Chris. He's secretly a 75-year-old man.
Shitty!
Oh yeah, because it was a Rat Pack movie, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck, now I want to watch it.
So anywho, they do this. They have this whole heist. They get in the thing. Everyone's got a plan, and it's going well. They scan her brain. Simon's like, "Holy shit! They did a lot of shit to her brain." And but meanwhile, Jane, true to form, is duplicitous and has secretly arranged with the cops to hand over Simon and River.
Is this the one where we start with River stabbing him in the chest?
Oh yeah,
slashing.
Yeah, she gives him a good slash. So he was a little salty.
Is there any Jane slash out there?
Oh,
certainly.
Well, I'd rather.
Oh
not.
no, I was thinking the fact that in Britain, to go for a slash means to have a piss.
To pee. Okay.
Yes, another reference no one will get. Thank you.
Our English listeners will definitely get
Oi,
it.
governor!
We're
gonna go out for a slash.
We've scared away
Have
all
a
our
slash,
English
have a slash.
listeners.
Have a slash. You having a slash? Gonna have a slash. All right. Anyway,
Dex.
so so
one
Jane
knows.
rats him out. He thinks he's gonna get a big reward, but then the cops are like, "Fucking dope! You aren't getting a reward. We're handing you over too, and I'm gonna keep the reward." And he's like, "Oh." So then he
I'm dumb.
he reluctantly does the right thing at that point, which is a common theme with the men in the show. Anyway, reluctantly does the right thing and helps them escape. They do escape. There's these men with blue hands, which is really wearing gloves.
Oh, I thought they were gloves. Are they not supposed to be gloves?
No, I think they are gloves.
No, I mean like IRL, they're gloves, but like are they?
No, I think that's what they.
Okay,
I don't
okay, I
think
just
they
wanted
men
to
are
make
like
sure.
blue-handed men.
Okay, good. Well, I didn't think so, but then you said that, and I was like, Jake, do you?
But
really,
like, yeah.
do you
Don't
really
listen
think
to
that's
how
what
Jake
it is?
talks.
So they escape,
he's got
but
such
then
a
of
purty
course,
mouth.
Mal being the genius he is, puts two and two together and is like, yeah, Jane totally ratted him out and threatens to kill Jane, but then lets him go and is like, if you fuck up again, I am gonna kill you. And Jane's like, okay, can I come out now? End of episode. Damn. So yeah, Ariel, huh? This was kind of a fun one. I thought I liked a lot of things. I have a thing for like the
heists.
the meticulously planned heist.
I really
montage
like. Yeah,
thing.
the montage was great, and as we're explaining what happens in the montage, that's always really fun. I'm gonna say the same thing next week too when we have another heist where there's a montage thing. But yeah, well edited and cut montage of Kaylee and Wash building a wambulance where they're very, very cute. There's a detail which I read online, which I find hilarious, in that one of the things as they're in the junkyard picking up all the supplies they need to build this ship, Wash tosses aside a catalyzer, which was the thing that nearly got them killed in out of gas.
Oh no!
Should have probably just bought that.
Oh,
So have a spare.
Very funny, actually.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
I do. I mean, I really like the gag in that scene of Kaylee just being like, why can't they send me shopping? Go to the core world, have to walk around a junkyard. Ooh, repulsors or whatever.
This is her kind of shopping.
Yeah,
She loves it.
Like, dude, Kaylee, just appreciate a good junkyard, girl.
Oh, I mean, I don't blame her though. Like, it's refreshing to see just sort of a major developed area in a science fiction program, because you don't get that. Like, not just this, but even in like Star Trek, because they're explorers, so they're going to the. But even when they meet a civilization that has been around for a while, they rarely go to their like capital city.
Right.
They still conveniently wind up in the middle of nowhere, Southern California. So it's
or
like, look, a
they're
city, it's exciting.
They're like in the mall.
Yes,
Like,
or that.
Most
yeah.
of the time they're meeting an advanced society. If
Right.
they'll be indoors in the mall.
Yeah,
Or
you-
the shitty casino.
Yeah, you get a matte painting of the city, and then yeah, like you said, they're in a mall, or quite frequently in the original series, it was like retro-futuristic college campuses were often used as.
Yeah, that's where Kirk's bro got it.
Yeah, that was some college campus,
Yeah.
and I feel like. Oh no, that's next week. I kind of wonder if a set from an upcoming episode of this was also a college campus. I will say, Dee, you're here for a Red Letter Day. I really liked this one.
Ooh.
This is the first episode that Chris is like.
What did you like
for
about
the
this one,
record.
Chris?
It was a good heist.
It was a good heist. Heists are fun.
It's just a good heist. They break it down really well. Like the whole prep montage is so good,
Yep.
and it's like the whole, like it has that trick of like it's explained so well that as you're watching it happen, you understand every step and
Yep.
you can understand like what goes wrong.
Everyone has a role that I think
Yep.
is played really nice. Why they left Jane with the Tams
That was a bad
was
idea.
a mistake. Granted, yes, it's part of the episode. It's what adds the tension, sure. But in reality, you don't leave Jane alone with the girl who literally tried to stab him
Yeah.
earlier in the however long this takes. I'm going to say a day, because Inara said she was only going to be gone like a day, even though I'm sure it would take over a week.
She said 2 days.
I think she did.
Oh
yeah.
no, 2 days. When it would take many days to build a ambulance on your own, but
You think they hawked that thing? Because, I mean, it looked good.
they should have kept it. It's great.
Yeah, but that would take up their whole...
Yeah.
Good call.
Just drag it behind the ship.
Yeah, and it is kind of, it's like kind of hand waved with a line like, Shepherd Book's not here. It's like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like one line where Mel's like, "Yeah, Shepherd
He's in
Book
a
had to go
monastery.
to the Abbey."
That's
for...
interesting. Do we know any information about why he wasn't in the show?
I'm sure there is.
It was
I
fine
I
without
haven't
him.
been doing as much research for the Firefly episodes because
Yeah, this is vacation.
Okay, that's fine.
their wiki page isn't quite as detailed as Memory Alpha. Shocking.
I mean,
You know what it is? He got confused and he thought that he was going to Zoe and
Wash's.
Morpheus's wedding.
Oh.
Because there was an episode a few weeks back where they had to kind of... Zoe was barely in it because Gina Torres was off getting married to... What is his real
Lawrence
name?
Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Wait, they're
You can say
married?
more.
Yeah, I didn't know this either.
Wow.
IRL.
Talk about like a beautiful couple.
What a couple.
I know.
Oh boy. One of my major takeaways from coming back and rewatching Firefly is Gina Torres is even more beautiful than I remember.
Yeah, no, she's great.
Stunning.
Oh boy.
It could have even just been like they wrote the episode and kind of realized they'd not really let him do anything, so they were like, fuck it, let's just...
I mean, it's like, I think that, and maybe that comes down, that could actually be related to the heist, right? That they need, it has that elegance of like, yeah, like, Wash and Kaylee are like, they're the, the tech setup, and then like everybody has a role to play inside the hospital, and, even down to, they sort of like run that thing at the end where it's like, Kaylee's on the ship and she has to relay information to Wash, like who relays it to. So they were very careful to maintain that sort of heist sense of everybody always being in motion.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if what's the actor's name? Ron Glass. If Ron Glass like wasn't available or
Maybe.
something, like what role would he have played? Because it seems so tight the way it is.
Yeah.
So maybe they just didn't expect him to be necessary.
I can see, so like I can imagine him. I'm imagining a hypothetical badass moment in this episode where like he's not even in on the plan and they're in the hospital and like they're about to get caught and like the preacher just shows up.
Yeah, he's
and
like
is
reading last rites to
Yeah,
somebody.
he's like, excuse me, doctor, like to whoever's about to bust them. Like
Yeah.
they're part of the, he would just like show up and just have moral authority like he does.
Well, because it
That
does
guy.
seem like it's not having him in this heist is a bit of a disadvantage because as a priest, he seems so far anyway to have basically free reign. Like when he had to get surgery by the Alliance.
Well, yeah, that, I don't think that, like,
I don't think that's because he's a priest. I think it's because he has some kind of special authority that we're not allowed
Well,
to
even
know.
if he has special authority, he'd also been a great asset on the heist.
I have my own views about Shepherd Book's past, and I think that like him showing up, like he can be really helpful on the rim doing heists, but I think he's actually would be a huge. I suspect that he has a sort of background where like if he walked into a hospital on an Ariel out of nowhere, like
Everyone would notice.
there would be like a spy there within 10 minutes to find out what he was doing there.
Yeah, I also feel like Book kind of chooses his battles wisely. Like,
Yeah.
he was nearly dead before he finally whips out his card and says, "Take me to the fucking hospital."
Yeah.
Like,
It's
he,
not,
he doesn't get
So
as
is
involved.
it might be possible to infer anyway then that maybe he made himself scarce specifically because he knew he'd be a liability on Ariel.
Makes a ton of sense.
I
Makes
like
a
it.
ton of sense,
I like it.
actually. Yeah.
Of course, in the perfect world, he would have been there and they would have left Jane in a trunk at the Abbey because he wouldn't have turned them in.
What do people think of? It's funny because like I haven't listened to your past episodes about Firefly. Like, what do we make of Simon in general? Because this is obviously like, the episode is most about, I would say, Simon and Jane, right? Like we see Simon, we get to see a new side of Simon in the hospital as well as organizing.
Yeah,
the
very competent.
heist.
I like that he stops to save a person's life
Yeah.
on the way through the hospital
That's a
wing.
really good
That was so
scene.
good.
Yeah.
that other guy was a shitty doctor.
Yeah, he's the dad doctor. Oh my god, I love you just like, how do you justify that guy?
Any first year would know that.
He should have concurred, That's
Yeah.
That was all that was missing.
Love that.
I really like. So Simon is my Tasha Yar of Firefly.
Is he? Wow.
I really like Simon, and I really like how stupid he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole just some of the stupid things he says to Kaylee, where you're
Oh,
just
no.
like,
You're
you
the
could-
only girl on the ship.
you
so...
could be smooching Jewel State right now, and instead you're not. You fucker.
He is so bad at people.
But I love that, like, there's a through line with him that I really like that is always sort of like, he does have he has these bedrock principles, and he actually does have a lot of steel, which is something that Mal picks up right away. I'm thinking back to like Serenity, but like what does he do in there's just like so many moments where Simon does something desperate that just works because he's just like always willing to go all the way. And it's
like
really...
when he said he would let Kaylee die if they didn't.
Yeah, it's just like complete steel. And I always like seeing. I like everything they do to make Simon more complex. That it's like, yep, he's completely out of his element. He's young and he's kind of stupid about certain things. But you know what? He's also like, in a way, like he's almost like a young Mal. You know, it feels like he could grow up to be Mal.
But see, that's my big critique of that character is that, you know, everybody else on the ship whose background we know, because we don't know a ton about like where Wash came from, for example, but we know
he grew up in a place where you couldn't see the stars.
He had a really bad mustache.
He once went to a place where you could juggle geese.
Goslings or something.
But like Mal, like his background makes sense with who he is, his character, and I would say the same for Jane, Zoe. You know, again, and Nara is not really written with a ton of depth to begin with.
She's the Troy. She's the Troy of this series.
Yeah, so the characters whose backgrounds we know about, it kind of makes sense. The thing with Simon, I think, is that his background is rich, privileged kid. You know? And while he's been sort of like I wish he was out of his element more. I feel like he's
out of his element.
He's always out of his element. This is like the first time we've ever seen him in his element.
That's why he says stupid shit to Kaylee.
See, I think that's just like he's bad with women, or he doesn't like he's socially awkward, which is
that's true. But think about when he was trying to like do the cattle trade or the mud trade or whatever the fuck, and he was terrible. I think like this is like the first time that we really see like that he's actually a competent human being at something, and not just competent, like super good at it. Because I mean, well, first of all, the heist is brilliant. But the way, again, seeing him save this random life, it's awesome. And you get an idea of, like, okay. And the other thing, too, is, like, in terms of his upbringing and where he is now, I think, actually, his upbringing and where he is now makes, like, a super ton of sense. Because his parents were obviously neglectful. He and his sister were probably all they really had. They probably had, like, a nanny. Or like a robot dog. Or a robot nanny.
Sent away to some college or some shit.
Yeah, so they're like...
boarding school.
She's like the only appreciable family that he really has.
I mean, I think that's... Sort of, I don't know if that's backed up by the show. I don't agree with that. Because we don't see that. We do see that it's a loving family.
We see that his...
It seems very distant. The family seems very distant.
Their dad seemed like an alright guy from the few times they showed him, and they showed his mother, I think, only once. But
you can be an alright guy and still not like go out for a ball catch with your son.
But I didn't get the sense it was like a Schitt's Creek parent-child relationship.
Well, I haven't seen Schitt's Creek, so I can't.
Like aloof parents and
Schitt's
like
Creek.
Children that.
Tell Caitlin to watch Schitt's Creek.
You should watch Schitt's Creek. It's really good.
So here's the thing, though. Like, the dad is like a super rich whatever dude. And, like, they're like, oh, well, we're going to a party. We can't be bothered to, like, worry about where your sister's at or whatever.
That's not what I mean...
That did happen in an episode.
They didn't say we're going to a party.
I thought it was for a party. He literally said, like, oh, we wouldn't want to disrupt whatever it was. I thought it was a party.
No,
was it not a party? What was it? Do you guys
thought it was some sort of something. Yeah.
I thought maybe
I'm
misremembering the scene.
A do or a time.
I thought she had described a party in her letter that didn't ever happen.
No, you're right.
And they were like, no, it's just a joke. She's making a joke.
No, but he also said something about like, I have to do XYZ. I can't worry about this right now. And Simon
that was when he broke into when he got arrested, and the dad had to come and bail him out. Which again, his dad came and bailed him out.
Well, yeah, but probably mostly because otherwise, like, there's more time for people. He was doing damage control because more people would have found out if his kid was in jail for days.
But again, like his dad even said when he bailed him out, he's like, listen, I had to walk through those doors and that's going to go on my permanent record. So you kind of fucked me over. If his dad really did, he would have sent one of his servants down to go deal with it.
I don't know, just the fact that, I'm sorry, the fact that the parents aren't taking seriously his concerns, though, makes me think that they don't know River. They don't know River. She's Fuck.
Buffy cast.
See, here's the thing.
I've
never seen Buffy. I don't want to, but
Let's
I
just talk
always
about
call. But I always call River Willow at least once, and I always fucking forget. And her name is something. It's like Summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Wow.
She sounds like the fucking whole Phoenix family.
Ooh. What were you saying?
Anyway, I feel like if he was able to see so clearly that something was going wrong and they couldn't see it, that to me speaks again to like the fact that they like really don't know her, and if they don't have any idea that this isn't like some hilarious joke that she would play, that makes me think that they haven't been much in her life.
So like I think that the reason why I always liked Simon as a character is that I could sympathize with him as a, living at the time as a white man, come from an upper middle class background. Like, he was my viewpoint character into the world. And I've always found his story very relatable. I mean, honestly, more so now than when I was young, because he is somebody who grew up being told that the world was a certain way, being told that his parents loved him because they provided everything for him, being told that the Alliance was good and it made people's lives better, and then having all of that massively disrupted. And the thing that's he has like just so many, like, he's so stupid in so many ways and he's so ignorant in so many ways, but there is something inside of him that really, unlike his father, right? Because his father is somebody who, when things are going smoothly, he's fine. He's a model citizen. He's like a pillar of the community. But as soon as something goes wrong, and there's something wrong in his life that he should do something to address, Simon sees that and is like, no, this isn't the way I was brought up. Like, this isn't what I've been promised. And his dad says, no, we look the other way for this kind of stuff so that things keep going smoothly. And Simon is somebody who rejects that, and despite his very privileged upbringing, is able to like go in a different direction.
Yeah, I think from something that is actually, in my opinion, actually supported by what we see on screen, I think the most you could say is that Simon's parents drink the Kool-Aid, and Simon drank, but was able to like detect when there was a little like Jim Jones, like Simon's parents are that's where drink the Kool-Aid comes from.
Yes.
So at Jonestown, his parents are down in the Kool-Aid, and Simon's like, no, that
tastes like
antifreeze. That doesn't smell quite right.
There's almonds in
and like his
their
parents are like,
Kool-Aids.
shut the fuck up and drink it.
Right.
And then he's like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a whole like. Yeah, it's like, it's not that they're villainous, it's that they are raised in a certain context.
Yeah.
And they actually do, I mean, we know that they have the pieces to see through that because Simon does.
Yeah.
But they don't. But we're talking very in general about the character. So like maybe like we've talked about seeing a different side of him. Maybe like in this episode, maybe the big development is, I mean, what did everybody think of what we learn inside the hospital about what happened to River?
Yeah, fucked up. So they cut on her. They opened her head up and chopped into her brain.
Yeah, they took out her
amygdala, I think.
Yeah.
Never been sure about the neurology of that scene,
it's
but
probably,
we can accept it.
It's probably about as accurate as their Chinese pronunciation.
Future technology, and therefore future
They understand
physiology.
the amygdala much better than we mortals.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought that
honestly, it makes River a more interesting character to me. I still hate her because even after we learn like, wow, there's a lot of good reasons for her behaviors. It gives a lot of context to her. I still fucking hate her though.
Well, but
Why
it
do you
only
hate her?
because she's awful.
She's not awful.
She
She's
is
wonderful.
She's
I
written,
really don't
she's
like
written
River.
in a way that's just it
Yeah,
feels like random garbage all the time that they think is
yeah,
meaningful.
well, they try to explain
Semantic
it. I
Pixie
think
Nightmare
honestly,
Girl.
if this episode
That's good, Caitlin.
had occurred
Thanks, TM.
earlier, I mean, I think part of the problem is that this was the
Ariel.
Yeah, this was the 10th episode aired in the United States, but it's the 9th episode in the original intended order.
I think you're
And
reading
considering-
that wrong.
You're reading it quite wrong.
That says 8, Jake.
It's not
Oh,
important,
that's what
but-
this means. I'm sorry, I was misunderstanding. Oh, I thought. Yeah, I don't know. I'm crazy. I was reading the wrong line. Whatever.
But I mean,
10 is at the bottom.
I know.
regardless, I think this should have been earlier.
I think that's what I was getting.
Either in the correct or incorrect, like we should have had this moment much sooner.
But then again,
Yeah,
this is...
because it makes her more sympathetic. Like, otherwise, you just don't give a shit.
But
she's just being
at the
weird.
same time, this is like, if this was a series that went on for 5 seasons...
Yeah.
God
this wouldn't have been...
That late.
But where it's only 10 episodes or 15 episodes, 14 episodes, this is almost 2/3 of the way through the entire series.
Yeah.
Or is 2/3 of the way through the entire series.
Yeah, but he probably had like a long plan, so it was going to be like you were saying. If it had gone
Yeah,
on
if
for
it gone
years,
longer,
it would have
it'd be
been
like-
early. But since
yeah,
it,
but like, so yeah, but I
You think Joss Whedon had a long plan?
in a
No?
series.
I don't know.
I doubt it.
I think his plan was keep making episodes of this and make lots of money. That was
That's a
probably
good
his
plan,
long-term
actually.
plan.
I
I
like
think
that
in a
plan.
series that went.
Sorry, unlike the producers of Star Trek.
Right.
I didn't say anything about Star Trek. She asked, "Did he have a plan?" And I said, "Yes, it was have a long-running series and make lots of money."
What is Rick Berman's long-term plan, just for the record?
Be a complete cunt.
There
I
we
think.
go. Okay.
More or less.
That's about right.
I have an idea actually, and I think what the hell was that?
That was Danny's father
Danny's father
from Game Grumps.
Dan. I think what we should do when we finish this series is talk about what order we would have put shit in.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a good
Because
idea.
there was the intended order and every fucked up order that everybody in the world got the shit on.
Right.
But what if we tried to like reorder some things so it was
like the machete cut.
Yeah.
Do a machete cut for Firefly.
Yeah. It's a Star Wars thing.
Where,
okay, I know it.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
I haven't
anywho,
seen
yeah,
it, but
I
I'm
think that's
familiar with the concept.
I think that's the
I've
big
just never
thing
heard it
that,
called
like, yeah. After this episode, you kind of understand River, but again, there were only 3 episodes aired after this one in the U.S. So
2.
3.
9, 10, 11.
Because
Oh,
Serenity,
right,
they
sorry.
circled back around to Serenity
Circle jerks.
because they're idiots.
So
But
I
how
think
do you... Oh, because they didn't do the message. I was like, how do you gonna do that without the message? But then you don't. Okay.
It's crazy. Yeah, it was just bad.
It's crazy.
What I was gonna say is,
There was shit on the paper. I was trying to brush it off.
all right.
Shit on your paper. Later when I... Never mind.
Wow.
Good job, podcast
Not
professionals.
my king.
The
Not mine either.
just give that some space.
Thank you, Dee.
So I think that
That linger in the air.
coming back to River a decade or 15 years later or whatever it is. I think that I bought her dialogue a lot more the first time around, and now I am kind of like, yeah, all right. But
We think it's so deep.
But that said,
it's like pseudo poetry.
that said though,
What's the meaning?
That said, though, like the genuine moments between her and Simon are, to me, one of the best parts of the show. Like that last line of this episode, like, "No, it's time to wake up." That's really good.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Also, like
You didn't listen to haven't listened to our episodes yet, so you don't know about. Apparently, there was a cut scene where.
Oh, that cutscene. The one we did a dramatic reading of?
Well, that episode actually hasn't even gone live yet.
But
so-
by the time this has gone live, it will have.
Yes.
So can you give Dee like a 2-sentence
15-second version.
What happened? Oh, yeah, River comes up to Simon, and Book is there, and she says, "Book, you have to marry me to Simon." And they're like, "No, that's not a thing, River. Emphatically not a thing." And then a thing with Saffron happens over here, and then we come back, and Willow. Now you have me too. I'm
sorry.
And Willow has put a
River
pillow under her dress.
A pillow in Willow's dress.
And she's pretending to be pregnant, and she says, "Oh no, Simon! Now we have to get married."
I'm
and
in
you're
the
like,
family.
"Fucking God,
She
damn
says
it."
like I'm in the family way or something like that. So
The show is
kind of think that's fucking hilarious, though,
I-
because part of River's whole thing. The part of River that's really fun is when because she's like a million times smarter than Simon actually.
Yeah.
Like, and that's clearly her just being like, "Oh, Simon, you're so fucking uncomfortable, you idiot." To me, I like it.
you could be right.
So, there's no elegant way to segue this, but we're running out of time for this episode. It's just something I wanted to talk about. The fight between the 2 guards, Simon and...
Jane.
When they're
Jane.
while they're tied up, and they do mostly kneeling on each other's necks.
What I love, I don't know who choreographed that fight, but it's fucking amazing for a couple of reasons. One, every other fight in this show is like most action shows. It's big, sort of over-the-top, swoopy punches. It's a fun action fight.
Yeah, throwing each other through holodeck windows.
This is a gross, desperate, visceral thing. And it needs to be, because these are people...
There's no way they should have won that fight, because they're manacled.
Right, but
all they can do is hip check.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's how a fight, it's not actually that easy to knock people out. Real fights would be sort of dragged out and brutal and horrible, and it nails that. And there's just one really subtle moment where, Jane does this crazy, knee drop thing, and he does it really well.
Directly
he aims it well, it's very elegant. A few beats later, Simon tries the same move, and he manages it, but it's way clumsier.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
Whoever choreographed that fight, that was fucking amazing.
Well done. No, I honestly, one of my favorite things in all of Firefly is Simon attempts very badly coordinated violence. It's almost always that he just tries to land on something.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, that has been a running gag with him. But this one, again, he manages it. He manages the move that Jane did, but it's way sloppier.
He just looks like a fool.
So when the men of blue 2x2 or whatever the fuck they are, they walk in and they're like, oh, one of them's dead, one of them's still alive. Which one was the one that was still alive?
That was Simon.
So Simon didn't kill him?
Yeah, well, because they did explicitly show Jane breaking the other guy's neck.
Yeah. Okay.
But
gross.
I also can't see Simon willingly killing a guy.
Yeah.
He could just knock him out.
Yeah. He's a doctor, after all.
On the topic of the fight, this is something I brought up a couple weeks ago, or I don't know when I said it, but
time is irrelevant.
Basically, it's the whole hashtag Alliance did nothing wrong argument again. Because, again, some stuff comes up in this episode that reinforces my previous assertion that the line we're getting fed about the evil empire is kind of bullshit.
They removed a girl's amygdala.
Well, okay. An element that operates in this government did that. But on the whole, we have still not seen the Alliance as all evil, as a bad force.
Yeah, but any government that has it would be like trying to argue that America's government isn't bad, it's just ICE. Any government that has ICE or has these fucking bogeyman, whatever.
Well, let's talk about we haven't gotten there in Star Trek yet, but there's elements. I'll just put it this way: there are elements within Starfleet, within the Federation.
I was gonna say Dukat did nothing wrong.
That do some serious fucked up shit.
Yeah, but we know.
But you wouldn't say that the Federation on the whole is evil.
I actually might, though. There's a lot of corruption. They tend to mostly get involved, at least in the beginning, where there are resources to be had. I don't know. I think that the winners in history write the books. So Starfleet's better than fucking Khan and his crazy genocidal whatever the fuck he had going on. Maybe, but I
don't know.
I think any government that kidnaps its citizens and performs non-consensual brain surgery on them, I don't think you can say has done nothing wrong.
Okay, that was facetious. Yes, something wrong has happened, but my argument was going to be that again, previously we saw them going out of their way to help people by deliberately not chasing Serenity and instead going to help a ship in distress. In this episode, we learned that they use. The police, the authorities here, use non-lethal weapons.
They use Go-Ram high-tech Alliance crap that won't even blow a door down.
So, I don't know. I'm starting to really doubt
the thing.
That Mal was on the right side of the war.
Do you all know what Joss Whedon has said about this?
What's he said?
He said that he's basically said, the show is fundamentally through the bad guy's eyes. What he said is that the people in the setting that he would like and want to spend time with are in the Central Worlds. And yeah.
I also think it's gray area versus gray area.
Yeah,
Who can be the most gray?
But again, I think the people that living on the edge, Mal and his people are just fucking straight up psycho murderers, right?
Well, Jane is.
Yes.
Kaylee seems nice.
True. I think maybe had the show gone on longer, we would have found out how aware the larger sort of people in power were about. Because right now, all we know is there was this fucked up academy, but for all we know, they're a completely rogue element.
Right.
Or they're
And that the biggest crime of the government is not realizing that this bullshit was going on right under their noses.
Right.
Which, so far, what we've seen, the whole problem with the Alliance does just seem to be that they're a bureaucracy that's a bit too big and stodgy for their own good. which could breed things like that academy.
There are also, like, there's a complicated factor here that it's not... I think it is intentionally gray, like, in that so think of going back to Simon's father, right? Like, Simon's father is a good person as long as the going's not tough, right? So there are a ton of good things about the Alliance, and the Alliance also, like, violently conquered, like, dozens of worlds. That's not a good thing. And there are a lot of good people in the Alliance who are doing good stuff, but they let that happen, and they still live there, and they still, are benefiting from the results of that war. So, you know, it's like they aren't supposed to be like the Borg or the Cardassians or something.
And that's what I think, like, the point of view of the show through Mal is the Alliance is an evil empire. Sure. That needs to be resisted at all costs.
And the show doesn't bear that out.
I don't think that what we've seen of the Alliance
but
backs that up.
I mean, there's the fact that Mal himself, known rebel, can just go to a core world, and as long as he's not doing anything illegal, they'll leave him alone.
Well, just like in any, like, civil war, after the war is over, you try to reintegrate the losing side.
I also don't think that the show is... I ultimately don't think that the show is interested in saying that Mal is right and the Alliance is all
and I
bad.
think
that's why Inara and, like, frankly, like, Wash, who I always think of as, like, he's clearly, like, more connected to the core than a lot of characters is. I know it's getting late, so we should.
Yeah, I have a couple minor notes I wanted to bring up.
Before we move on, can I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Do you mind?
No. Okay, well, I'm not moving on. So.
Well, I just meant from
on this.
We were
on this
about.
On this
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do you mind?
No,
I don't
know.
Okay. What I was going to say is Mal is an idiot.
Yes.
Like,
just like Simon. They're just so alike.
No, but, like, what I mean is I don't, like, it's true that Mal obviously sees the Alliance as being, like, this evil empire, but he's a fucking idiot. Like, I don't think necessarily that the showrunners were thinking, you have to believe what Mal is telling you. Like, he's a fucking huge unreliable narrator, and he gets fucking duped. I mean, like, he's a hooker with a heart of gold. Like, he does the right thing sometimes. But, like, he's just... but he's just stupid. Like, he's an idiot,
Mal
and you can't take his opinion of the Alliance at face value at all.
Is a sucky person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. But I would say... I don't know, because I remember when this show was really popular on DVD, like, everyone was like, I'm a brown coat! And I'm thinking, like, the brown coats.
Do you know what that means?
Like, that's like, I mean, that's kind of rough, right?
I'm a Confederate.
Whoa! Yeah, they were the losing side.
Because, like, really, you go out to the border planets where the Alliance doesn't have as much influence, and there's legit slavery.
No, but so I want to push that back against that, actually, because... We're not seeing Rim society. We are seeing Rim society after it's been shattered by war and hampered by, frankly, inept and corrupt Alliance administration. Like, I don't think you can argue that the local authorities who are Alliance approved that we see on the Rim worlds are effectively leading the Rim.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, invading Iraq and destroying their whole system and then going, bye, good luck!
Yeah. Yeah, we said we were going to move on, though.
But we also have, like, the robber barons on Persephone, like...
Yeah, and they're... Oh, yeah.
Like, who are they? Like, what's their affiliation? They don't seem Alliance affiliated at all.
No, they're criminals, but they're criminals that are very comfortable within the Alliance system.
Yeah.
Will keeps on turning Badger. That only matters to the people on the Rim. It's, I swear to God, the best dialogue in the whole show.
Ames, you had things.
Yeah, you had things, and
so we got to move on to
2 or 3 minor notes. A of which is Simon, dressed as a doctor in the hospital, looked way too similar to River dressed as a patient, and I couldn't tell their costumes apart.
I didn't notice.
And I was like, why is this patient helping save this man? Oh, he's dressed as a doctor? Okay. Interesting. The other bit I wanted to bring up was the teaching Mal and Zoe and Jane what to say, and then it never coming up, and Jane sputtering out we did CPR just this and this way, was probably an amazing
line. And their
receptionist
was just like, I literally don't care, bring them to the morgue, get out of my face.
That's very funny. Yeah.
The whole time while they're learning it, I'm like, this is so dumb. This is so stupid and dumb. Why are they so bad at learning this? And then you get to that payoff moment. I'm like, oh no, never mind.
Well, that's the thing about Jane in general is that character is written so well for what the character is.
He's very consistent.
You just can't, and you can't help but love the character of Jane from just like this is a satisfying, consistent character.
Yeah.
But fucking Adam Baldwin sucks so much.
Yeah.
I was about to say, wait, have we talked about Adam
I feel so guilty
several
liking
times
Jane so much because fuck Adam Baldwin.
See, in my mind, he's not acting. That's just Adam Baldwin.
Maybe, yeah. He's like,
and it makes me feel better.
I think Jane's more
You
noble.
have to say he's a great performer. He's garbage, but yeah, he's good on the show.
Yeah, no, I will admit I wasn't sure. Like in the first episode, I was like, I don't know, but no, he has grown on me as a character. I think they did better with his archetype than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And like he's an asshole, and
in the
he's not
scene-
glorified as an asshole. He's just an asshole.
That's the difference between him and Mal, aside
Mal
from
is
some
the
other stuff.
glorified.
Mal is the glorified asshole, but he's still an asshole.
Yeah. Yep.
The scene between him and Mal and Jane at the end, though, was very well done.
Oh my god,
yeah.
it was
In the
great.
airlock?
That was good.
You
Very
stab
well
my...
shot.
What does he say? Like, you stab my crew, you stab me, or next time you stab me in the
You
back.
did it to me.
Yeah, you did it to me.
Here's my question. So Jane says at the end when he thinks he's about to die, "Don't tell them what I did. Let them think I died for any old fucking other
make
reason.
something up.
But don't tell them that I was backstabbing you and trying to turn the Tamgent again." And then Mal lets him stops the thing from being opened, and which would have killed him. Is that why Mal close the door, or was he going to close the door anyway?
I think that's as close as Jane has ever come to expressing any regret about any fucking piece of shit thing he's done. And I think there's sort of a glimmer of hope there. So
Yeah.
I kind of, honestly, again, like, Mal is an asshole. I think Mal absolutely would have just let him die just then. I think it was literally because that's what he said and expressed that, like, real human remorse.
Maybe there's a person in there, and also you're good with a gun.
Yeah, and when I think it was maybe because the issue is that Jane just figured as long as he shows enough, can't think of the word I want, but enough loyalty, for lack of a better term, to Mal. But it's just that he didn't understand that to Mal that means everybody, not just him directly.
And I don't know. I don't know if I 100% agree that his showing that his, don't tell him what I did was like a penitent thing to say. I think it was yet another selfish thing to say. I think it was...
I don't want to look bad.
I don't want my
reputation
to be...
Your reputation is literally that, though.
It shows that he knows what shame is and he experiences shame, but he just doesn't give a fuck. And he will do shameful things if they benefit him. He just doesn't want other people to know.
No, but so I think the reason that I disagree, and we should move on to war stories, but like my last thought
I got a way to segue us in, don't worry.
Perfect. My last thought on this is that like there is a like I think that there is an important difference between thinking like, wow, this guy truly has no morals, and this guy feels shame even though he usually does. Because the thing is that there's no utility to Jane in that. I think that's what touches Mal about it. That there is like it's not a matter of like, oh, I need the Tams to trust me, or I need my reputation to be fearsome so people do what I say. He's literally like, when there's no benefit to him, he's like, you know what? It would be really shitty if people remembered me for betraying my crew. That's like, that feels really bad to me, and I don't want that to happen.
I think the real reason Mal shut the door was because he was like, fuck, I don't know what the hell I would make up. I'll let him live.
But also, he also implied, so this I had a problem. I had a little issue with what he says to James. Like, as soon as we break Atmo, you're going to get sucked out that door.
Blown out.
If you're gonna complain to me about compression physics, I am not interested.
Actually, he'd
really,
cook alive first.
I think he would just suffocate because the air would just get thinner until he would die.
Yeah, he would suffocate.
Because you only get blown out in an explosive decompression.
Are you really taking issue with the threat that Mal made?
I had a big issue. I know you haven't listened, but I had a big issue with the fire snake.
Oh
The
yeah.
Fire
the
snake's
fire
dumb.
snake was a
Fucking
fun
fire snake.
decision.
You don't
that's
you
a
don't
Mario
have to
thing.
understand science to know that the fire snake is dumb.
I have to say, I think that y'all might be holding this show to a different standard than you hold Star Trek
of course
to.
we are. We're being fucking dickheads, of course.
Well, Firefly is a better show than Star Trek, so
Whoa.
I mean, all right,
Words.
I will say it's
Let-
better than TAS.
give me a transition to War Stories.
Okay, here's our transition to War Stories, because we gotta move on, because we've been talking for a long time.
That's all right.
Oh,
4
fuck.
Stories
I
is a
had
shitty
one-
episode.
I
To
had
be
one
quick.
more thought. Now I can't remember what it was.
Too bad. We have to transition.
Oh, I think it's because he doesn't beg for his life too.
Good call. What's the transition?
What's the transition?
That was all.
The transition is does Jane feel any remorse? Question marks. Wait a week until this episode isn't actually aired, so fuck it. Jane bought everyone apples because he
That's right.
felt bad.
Oh.
He
That
did.
was sweet.
Yeah, and he did buy everyone apples in the episode War Stories.
Which wasn't aired with the original run. Was that right? Is that what I
No,
read?
it was
It
one of
was.
the last
Oh, it
ones.
was.
Yeah. Next week's we're not.
Okay, got it.
So, so this is War Stories.
War Stories.
War Horse.
Jinx.
In War Stories, we are introduced to I'm trying to remember how this episode really opens.
Niska.
They're just bad, but I feel like we don't really get into this episode until a decent chunk through.
Well, it starts with like Zoe and Wash arguing.
Oh yeah,
right?
this is the episode that's super fucking problematic with the
what this
sexual
marriage
dynamic.
needs is less husbands or whatever the fuck.
I believe when
I
I
wear the pants in this marriage.
Yeah, no, you're not, dude.
I remember saying to Caitlin, I was like, "Wow, I really liked Ariel." It's like, will the momentum continue through?
Yeah.
Nope. This episode sucks.
This was rough.
What happens in this?
All right, so in this episode,
Oh wait, they're trying to figure out how to get rid of all the medical supplies.
oh
right?
yeah,
Yes.
they're trying to sell off the yield from the heist scenario.
Continuity.
There is some
Good-
continuity.
And consequences.
For some, so they do this thing where they have
Crime and
Zhang
punishment.
Yu is mentioned by both Nishka and
yeah.
Book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Zhang Yu, gold, by the way. Anyway, so
What?
in
go.
SG1, Zhang Yu is a Gould.
Oh,
But
he's
that's not important.
That's not
Ah.
important.
So basically, I feel like this episode could be summed up really, really quickly.
Well, Jake's gotta do it.
Yeah, I'm going to sum it up real quickly. Here we go. Wash is being a little baby about the relationship that Zoe and Mal have because he's very possessive and insecure.
And they cut their apples a certain way.
Yeah, and
Clearly, they're fucking.
and then
The apples.
and Nishka, who was, you recall, the mob boss from Train Job, he finds out that, oh look, Mal's going around trying to sell his stuff, and he betrayed us in the other episode, so
And killed Crow.
let's capture him. So
Well, and it was probably the same shit, right? Because it was medical supplies in both cases, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
actually. That's a good point.
So he
So,
probably thinks directly, like, you're selling that shit that you stole
oh
from
maybe,
me.
yeah, good point.
Oh, is Black Cat being
no.
Vice?
Vice Jim.
Watch out. Wash throws a tantrum and manipulates his way onto the mission to go sell these things. And of course, while they're on that mission, they get captured. They get tortured. Eventually,
God, so much.
Eventually Zoe
Killed a
shows
little.
up, takes Wash, pays Nishka all of the proceeds from their heist, takes Wash, but Nishka won't let them take Mal. So they
they let him take a little piece of him.
That's true. They give Mal's ear to them. Then they stage a daring rescue and shoot up Nishka's base and rescue Mal from Nishka.
Nishka gets
And
away.
then there's a terrible button joke about Mal and Zoe having sex. And that's this episode.
This
Yeah.
episode,
And he gets his ear back on.
He does get his ear
Happy
shut back
ending.
on.
Thanks to the counselor.
yes. This
Happy
episode,
ending for the
God,
ear.
that I'll
Put
get
this
to
on
that too.
ice.
Honestly.
Oh yeah, that whole
This
lesbian.
is honestly this episode. So okay, I just said this is a better show than Star Trek. I will not defend this episode.
Yeah, this episode
Very bad.
is
This
so
episode's
rough.
trash.
I'll be in my bunk.
No, that's
So-
next week, Chris.
So yeah,
Oh.
yeah. What really frustrates me about this episode?
Wasn't that this week?
No, it's next week.
There's an episode literally called Trash.
Oh, trash. I thought we were talking about I'll be in my bunk.
Yeah, no, that was this
Well,
week.
there's that too.
This episode doubly pissed me off because it's a waste of actually what should have been a really good episode.
What's the good episode?
I don't know exactly, but one thing I said in
More
an earlier...
Alan Tudyk.
Yes. One thing I said in an earlier episode was like Zoe's character flaw.
Is listening to Mal.
Yes.
Sure.
And you could have had
Who
an
is an
actual...
asshole.
Like, if you had done this same episode, but like written by adults, for adults, like if Mal and Wash had like serious adult conversations, or Wash and Zoe had a serious adult conversation about Mal and the fact that maybe people should occasionally tell him to go fuck himself. Like, I don't know what the right episode is. I'm not clever enough to write it, but I'm pissed that they wasted it on this childish drivel. And then, yes, the whole, like, the lesbianism that was clearly just put in to, like, give teenage boys a fucking semi.
Let's talk about that in particular later, because I think I really want to talk about it. But
it's children. It's children being children.
It's so obvious. Like, so there's something. There's this thing that a college professor of mine said to me once about a paper that, like, she used the expression, like, you're kicking down doors that are open. You know, it's basically that, as all college students do. I was just writing a whole paragraph about something that was completely fucking obvious because I needed to make the word count, right? And she used this expression, like, you're kicking down open doors.
It's a good phrase.
And, like, that's what this whole episode is. It's just, like, I don't think anybody who's watched the show thinks that, like, there's anything romantic or sexual between Zoe or Mal.
No.
So, like, why have an episode about it? Yep. And we've never seen any indication that Wash thinks that. No. I think that we have seen, like, I haven't been rewatching the show, but I do remember there being a really interesting dynamic of Wash being like, I love being here in general, but I don't really like working for Mal in particular.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That would have been the more interesting discussion. Yeah. You know, that's sort of like, there have been hints that maybe, again, I don't think there's been any hints of jealousy from him before, but there have been hints of like, no, but really, like, Zoe, what the fuck? Because in reality,
this guy's a dick.
Probably be in charge. Like, why do you let him be him? Because he's bad at everything almost.
Yeah.
Well, and it's come up before that, like, Wash doesn't, like, in general, that she does never stand up to Mal. So
and so we have all this setup for what should have been a good adult discussion, and we got pissing contest. A one-sided pissing contest.
And then it just wraps up really abruptly with Wash being like, okay, now I
I'm gonna go plow my wife. Bye.
Yeah, that's whatever.
And then he doesn't finish his soup because no one on television finishes their fucking soup.
Jane got some soup.
Free soup. I will say, another just Adam Baldwin as great performer. He delivered that so well. Yeah. You think
that soup.
And you're like, okay, anyone can deliver a two-word line, but some people can't. Yeah.
So it is one thing.
Not till you're older, son.
I think it is legitimately. Oh my god, what was I gonna say? Oh. One thing in this episode that I do like is it's like such a little B plot, but I think all of the non-combatants being like, we want to help is like, I like it.
Yeah.
I honestly like, just because it's again, right? This is what I love about Simon. I love seeing Simon just like wildly shooting down the hallway. He's like, I'll help. This is helping them.
I never shot anybody before. Son, I was there. You still haven't.
Which was great because it's like, I've never shot anybody before, but I did choke a man out pretty good last week.
Non-lethally.
Yeah. I felt so bad for Kaylee in that scene.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's actually genuinely, like, it's an affecting moment. It's just like, Kaylee.
And then you want to strangle River because she will actually murder you.
Well, and no, but I even like that to me is an interesting moment about River of just like
that she's the Matrix now.
Yeah, that you're just like, wait, what the fuck? Like,
no, she's
this girl who like stabbed Jane last week is now like potentially really dangerous. I think that sets up a really interesting conflict, which comes back later in the series, as you will discover in later weeks.
Well, also like River, like one of the things that they talk about earlier in the show before her Matrix moment is how Simon's been trying to treat her.
Yeah,
and he's now that he knows more or less what they did to her.
She threw
different types of drugs.
Yeah, so she's getting, quote unquote better, or at least more lucid, it seems. And I think that continues also, but
this is another example of just like me loving Simon River. The little like, he's like so sweet. He's like, I'll take care of you, don't worry. And she's like, you're my beautiful sister.
I threw up in your bed.
Come on, that is adorable and hilarious.
I did like that bit.
My big problem with the River becomes the Matrix was the fucking angle she was holding the gun at the last shot.
I didn't notice.
I was like, you're shooting the floor! I was so mad.
It ricocheted. That's how good she is at math.
Yeah. See, I didn't... Nope, not so. Not so. Just a bad choice. I was so annoyed by it. Like, I don't know anything about guns, shooting guns. I've never shot a gun. I'd like to. I'd like a range. I think that'd be really fun and shit.
It's
but
fine.
well, I feel like as a stress relief. Plus, I feel like I'd be a good shot, because video games.
It's
but
also,
anyway,
it's
the
also
point
a good
is,
skill to have in case you ever need it. So.
well, I mean, I would
In the
never.
event
I would
of the
really never own.
apocalypse.
Yeah, that's true. A zombie apocalypse would be good.
In the event of the apocalypse,
But what were you were going to say?
dead.
Oh no,
We're dead in
just
the first 10
that
minutes.
fucking angle that she's holding the gun at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about guns, but I know
It's
that's not how
silly.
gun works. And I was like, what the fuck?
So-
see, I
what the
didn't
fuck?
think it was River Becomes the Matrix. It's funny because before we started
So
recording,
the Matrix becomes River?
listeners, we were talking a bit about The Fifth Element. And it reminds me of that moment where at one point in the film, Corbin Dallas, Bruce Willis's character, glances around a corner and goes back, has in an inhuman amount of time counted and memorized where all the bad guys are, and then swings around again. Bam, 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 bam.
You're right.
You're right.
It's becoming the Fifth Element.
Fifth Element did it first.
Let's all just get it out of our system briefly. Lilu Dallas multipass.
Multipass.
Super green.
Let's circle back and talk about I did want to talk about the lesbian scene.
Oh, the counselor?
Yeah, I have to say, it's such a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
The one
This
thing...
is not the right show for this. Either.
Not at all.
It's it should just be I was just watching it and I was just I feel like this is the sort of criticism I heard at the time and I wasn't really open to. And I was just this should not be a big deal.
Exactly.
Why would it be a big deal? If anything, it should be sort of there's actually interesting things you could do, right?
Mm.
I could imagine Mal being oh, does she like women? And actually being kind of upset about
That's
that.
the only reason she doesn't love me. There can be no other explanation.
Right.
Fucking Mal.
Or they could have done anything. They could have had the preacher, who's usually the reasonable one, being
Well, it's a damn sin.
What's everybody? No, he wouldn't say that.
Okay.
No, he would be the one. I was almost waiting for him to be why the hell? What are we all reacting to?
We had lots of priests back at the Abbey or whatever's books, shepherds that were
The one redeeming thing I can take out of it is that I like to read that Kaylee's do I have a chance with Inara in that moment?
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
But it's funny.
Deal
Even,
unbreaker.
even with her, it's kind of she even says outright, I knew she took female clients, but even she seems to be and they try to pass it off as her just being sort of in awe of them as a couple.
Oh, look how pretty their
They're
clothes
so-
are.
But if any one character maybe should have just been yeah, of course. Because she knows. She probably talks with Inara more than anyone.
Yeah.
It's just
But she doesn't usually take people on the ship, so that was also kind of a big deal. So I think there's the difference between hearing about it and seeing it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that in this future
for the character,
world,
yeah.
I mean, again, it's that sort of everyone's casually bisexual thing of the future. I don't think it should be a big deal anyway. But when we went to that one weird outer rim world where fucking River's a witch or whatever, maybe
it does seem
people have reverted back to really weird old fashioned religious ideas about sexuality.
I think it's also. This was
reverted back. A lot of people still think that.
2002, right? It was it was a different time, and it just hasn't aged well. They were at the time.
I think it is 17 years ago, but
a lot has changed.
you can still you could have tried to
No, it's bad. It's the sort of thing that I can imagine them. I can imagine somebody who worked on it at the time being what a good thing we did. And now I'm just oh. One thing that I thought of that I wanted to mention is that the scene, I feel I never liked the actual scene, the dialogue between Inara and the counselor.
Oh, it's wretched.
While they're doing the massage
Yeah,
and all this
Oh my
bullshit.
god, the massage.
Well, the massage
Can I just interrupt for once?
massage, yeah.
The massage is so bad. She's so limp-wristed. I'm
She's
this is
correct.
not a massage. She's
We're all
it would
giving each other
fucking
non-massages.
I was so annoyed. I was that's not how you give a goddamn massage. You're supposed to know how to do this shit. I was so mad.
I would say it's more egregious than the gun pointing down. But what
Agreed, it was horrible.
What I was going to say is that listening to that dialogue, I never liked it as a kid. And you have to understand, listeners, I was a lesbian living as a man. And now watching it, I'm just one of the least sexy things you could say to somebody is I don't usually date women. I dated you because you're special. I would just be oh.
You know, there's
Who wrote this?
a man.
Did a man write
clearly a
this?
man.
No, there's this subreddit called Men Writing Women, which is exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, especially when people do parodies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like that whole scene could just be like verbatim right in. That's like,
You know what could have made that scene better is if instead of a massage, they were doing
pillow fight.
yoga in front of a mirror.
I knew it. I knew it. As soon as she said they were doing, I was like, oh, I know where this is going.
Talking about how their boobs
worst.
feel firmer now.
No, they should have been like, the counselor should have been like, so I was reading my grandmother's diary.
I was hitting the DJ decks while reading my grandmother's erotic journal.
I was so glad Dee was on for that episode. That was the perfect episode for her to be on.
You know, like that was
fun.
That was a good time.
Beverly hitting the DJ decks every night.
See, I think every episode is a great episode to have Dee. I just love having you on. Like,
Thank you.
But yeah, no,
This is a terrible episode.
it's so bad.
Is there anything else
It's
you want
funny.
to say?
It's funny. I remember when I first saw this one liking it, and I think it's because our listeners will remember our friend Justice, who's a good friend of ours, and Justice talks about how he and Wash are secretly the same person. And
Secretly.
I think it was Justice that mentioned to me that it was Alan Tudyk who was pushing for this torture scene to be shirtless in and do the whole thing in, because he's not the same level of attractive man that Nathan Fillion is an attractive man. I do too, but conventionally, the attractiveness is different.
Yeah.
I've loved Alan Tudyk since he played like the gay sex addict Gerhard in fucking 28 Days. So
This sounds amazing. We'll get to this another day.
yes. Ooh, that would be a good. No, wait, this isn't a Firefly podcast. I was gonna say that'd be a great 10 forward, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait, even the name 10 Forward tells me.
So strange.
Yes, interesting. No, but just in my general love of Alan Tudyk, it's like, oh yeah, Alan Tudyk's great in this. And then if you watched it this past week, I was like, oh my god, what did I like about this
Well, here's the thing,
episode?
right? Because I think the torture itself and that whole thing isn't bad. I don't think that's the worst part.
No,
I
the
think
torture scene's great.
I would actually say
It's everything
the
that led
highlight
up
of
to
the
it.
episode.
Shirtless Alan
Tudyk. If
getting
Alan
his
Tudyk went in, I want a
electrocuted.
scene where me
That
and
would
Mal
be-
are captured and we get tortured and we bond. And that would be a good thing for an episode.
Mm.
Because there is something to be like, yeah, it would be cool to because we see that bond that Zoe and Mal have,
But it's
and
because they've been through hell and
right,
back
and that
together.
is a story worth exploring.
Right.
But the way they got to that in this episode was through this weird, fucking possessive, misogynist bullshit with Wash,
Which
in my
kinda comes
opinion,
out of
is
nowhere.
kind of way out of character.
Yes.
For
agreed.
him, I guess Wash has said something, the whole thing with Saffron was a little with him, and
when he's like, oh, I wish I wasn't married.
so Wash has had some moments of okay, I'm not quite sure where you're at, buddy.
Well, it was 2002.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's never shown this level of insecurity.
Yeah, no, he's always been very
the insecurity
secure in his marriage.
Yeah, and the fact
again,
that
not loving
and
Mal,
also
but not
for Zoe's
for
part,
that reason.
I feel like Zoe is out of character and not just straight up shutting this down, right?
Yeah.
I feel like she would not be putting up with this, and she would be putting
No,
some sense
let me
into
go
him.
get tortured. Damn
This is
it!
the thing. Yeah, I just they're both acting so out of character, right? They can't justify Wash's behavior without having Zoe act out of character.
Yeah.
But I mean, this said, the torture scene is amazing.
Yes.
And it's what really
I do love how Mal keeps. I want to say Alan Tudyk was his name. Wash keeps Wash from breaking. That's really really nice.
And
it is good.
And the thing that just really makes it in a comic way is just Nishka just kind of his expression keeps going from he's I'm really enjoying this torture to this is a very unusual exchange that this just usually happen during torture.
Oh man, I should
there's the
rewatch
shocks
that.
again. There's the it's great.
I
he's
didn't even
definitely-
pay any attention to him. I'm so upset now.
He's
I have to
definitely
rewatch
getting-
that scene.
Increasingly confused
Yeah.
by the fact that they seem to be sticking to their topic.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I
And
will
to the
s-
actor's
go
briefly, to the actor's credit, he doesn't overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice subtle
he's-
expression of just that?
Yeah, he's so hateable that it makes me wonder, how has no one risen up and killed this guy?
It's apparently pretty easy.
Like none of his minions.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He got away.
Escaped.
No, I know that's right. But I was saying it's pretty easy as the Serenity crew proved. Like,
So, like, you could get to him pretty
Oh,
easily.
I see.
it's not
They
that
did.
hard to get. Like, he slipped through their fingers.
They did it with 3 fighters, a preacher who only shoots people in the leg, and Simon. So
And then
And
they-
the Matrix.
and then
they-
Or Lilu.
And then they threw Victor over a railing to be horribly murdered.
Well, his last
Bye,
henchman
Victor.
got kicked into an engine, so...
Man,
At least that was
Nishka-
probably quick,
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
he died faster.
Yikes.
I'm just saying, like, being Nishka's henchman,
Yeah, no.
not a lot of...
Really good life insurance policies, their families are taken care of. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And when you've got nothing else to live for, maybe that's all it takes. If you want to accept the conceit of this episode, which is that Wash is suddenly, like,
Jealous,
super jealous, and Zoe is, like, super okay with, like, her husband being a dink. The ending is really nice, because when it comes down to it, she, like, chooses him over Mal.
Yeah.
Which is, like... Aww. I mean, it's horrible, but that's, like, kind of sweet. And also, it's nice to hear Wash be like, I fucking get it. I was gonna die back there. I understand now. I learned my lesson. I've been a very bad boy.
yeah, the
It's
fact
just
that
a shame
not
you had
that
to...
kind of...
Let's go put our ear back on our friend.
It's a shame they had to, like, go against his character so much to get
No,
him
again,
to
and
that.
like I said, it's like if you accept this bullshit that they gave us, they wrap it up pretty nicely, but it is like,
Consistently,
ugh.
yeah.
Although that was another point of definite, like, fuss for Nishka. It was like, yes, I am setting up the impossible okay.
That's
yeah,
a good,
that was
yeah.
a good joke.
Which clearly is why he cut off the ear, because he was, like, mad he didn't get
It's
his
like,
fun.
yeah, I guess I have to raise the game.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I just thought of like a really good scene in this episode, in my opinion, is when I just really love the whole opening sequence where the shepherd is like, you know, Sean Yu, and it's like, you know, he's sort of making a point, but Simon the whole time is just like, why are we talking about Sean Yu? Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, why are we talking about Sean Yu? He like more or less says at
It's
the
so
end.
the audience knows who he is.
Yeah, and also to, like, draw the parallel with
Shepherd
Nishka.
Book and Nishka are the same person.
Done.
Oh, is this the one where Book was lifting weights with Jane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Because
Jane got distracted by boobies.
His boner.
Yeah, well, that part was dumb, but it was kind of just another one of those, like, oh, look at that. I mean,
Looks like, hello,
one of
hello.
those Shepherd Book has stuff going on moments where you're just like, oh, yeah, no, more of that weird, secret, whatever
Okay,
he is.
Here's an alternate universe, better version of the like Jane Purvain sequence.
I'm in.
We mentioned early on in the episode that Kaylee has been playing around with building a DJ deck out of spare parts. And then when the counselor walks in with Inara, she goes, I'm going to be in my DJ deck.
This is our new thing on this episode.
Oh my god, I love
I have
it.
one
But then,
more.
and then instead of the second one, instead of Jane helping Book lift the weights, she's in the thing playing it, and when an hour comes down with the girl, we hear a record screech.
You want to say?
Yeah,
Please see X, produced by Flat Earth Theater.
Let's do it.
Opening.
I have one more topic I wanted to mention. They killed Mal.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was dead, and they resurrected him to torture him some more.
Yeah.
What is that like?
You would,
Scotty did it once, and the Nomad resurrected him, and that was weird.
yeah, you were dead, Mr. Malcolm, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Holy
Reynolds.
shit, Reynolds. What did I say? Oh, his
Mr.
first
Malcolm.
name's Malcolm. Idiot.
Yeah, and his line is, "Oh, seemed like the normal thing to do."
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. You died. You died,
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Reynolds.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It seemed like the thing to do at the time.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
that
I
was
think
good.
it's I don't know. Again, obviously having Nishka escape in this episode,
It was so, yeah.
it was a good setup for like Nishka
Season
to
2.
continue to be a recurring villain, and like he's a really good villain.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
Yeah, but he can't just keep torturing people. Like, if that's his
No.
whole shtick, we just can't
Well,
keep
like,
doing
but
that.
now, like, he had
Indefinitely.
like if he didn't have an axe to grind already, now he really has an axe to grind.
This time it's personal.
But he might be like, maybe his criminal he escapes with his life, but does he escape with his
Reputation.
Someone takes over at his old house, so he has to go and get it back. Kind of like how in Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, the Shredder has to come back and like take back over and shit.
Well, I could see a future episode where, where like the crew gets hired by through a third party, a mystery to like, take down some new mob boss, and we find out
Yeah.
that it was actually Nishka that hired them
Yeah.
secretly. because, you know...
I mean,
to test their loyalty or something?
No, and then he tries to kill him.
Oh,
and then he tries to kill him at the end.
I think it would be. I think a really good episode might make, like, you know, in the second season, imagine that they're like really going head to head with the Hands of Blue folks, and they have to work with Nishka.
Holy shit! We never talked about the fucking
Ebola
machine in fucking Ariel.
It's just make your head explode.
Dude, I fucking hated that shit. I can't deal with anything that has to do with, like, weird shit with the eyes, contacts, bleeding from the eyes. This was like...
Gary Mitchell.
You're on the wrong podcast.
This was the perfect shitstorm. I was like,
It's really gross.
Tell me when it's over!
How were you with the ear cutting off?
No, that was fine. And it looked fake as shit. And then when they, like, put it back on, that looked shitty, too.
I just loved Wash's reactions while it was happening. It was very sweet.
I do love, like, Simon's... I just really like Sean Maher as an actor. His little, like... Mal comes out at the end and he's like, "Oh, yours back on fine," and Simon's like, just don't fiddle with it." Like, he's just so like,
because he's like, I shouldn't have to say this.
His reaction to it also, like, it looks like it's his ear.
Yeah, it's so good.
It was something like that. It was just perfectly delivered.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, speaking of, you have something else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Too bad we're low. No, I'm just Go ahead.
Get in this torture chair,
the last thing I was going to say was just that Jane, again in this episode. So obviously Jane's contribution to this episode is I'll be
being
a
bum. Chronic masturbator.
Yeah, but I will say, like, his whole thing, when they're first plotting the rescue, and he's eating the apple. He's like, this is suicide. You want to go get yourselves killed. And then, of course, when they go into the room, everyone's suiting up, and then it cuts to Jane, who's standing up there with Vera. Like, obviously he was already
locked and loaded.
Like, as soon as I came up there, like, oh, I'm gonna get to go kill some people.
Yeah,
like, he was on board.
Well, plus he almost got flushed out a airlock, so maybe he figures if I'm gonna die, at least I can go a hero.
True.
Random thought. I really like apples, and I really like watching people in TV shows eat apples.
Especially with the knife. I was into it.
But how do you like them apples?
Tell me, Caitlin, how do I like them apples? What a transition.
Good luck.
Well, if you like apples, go buy some and eat them while you watch Firefly.
Hey, it is apple picking season. If you want to go pay way too much money to do the labor yourself, you can just get it at a fucking Stop and Shop.
And when you're done eating the apple, you can throw the core into the trash, which is a really good segue because next week...
Inspired.
Thank you. We're going to be talking about 2 more Firefly episodes, and we're getting real close to the end, guys. I forgot just how short this show was. Like, when I was watching these episodes, I was like, how many more weeks of this do we have? Oh, wow. So next week, we're going to be talking about episodes 11 and 12, Trash, and The Message.
Not the massage.
Not the massage. Oh, God,
poorly.
fucking limp-wristed, shitty-ass massage. If she was giving me a massage, I would have been like, bitch, I want my money back. This is trash. Anyway.
No, this is trash.
No, that's... Next week. Yeah, next week's trash. Okay. In the meantime, hope to see you then. But in the meantime, if you like what you heard, please consider subscribing. You can find A Star to Steer Her By where all fine podcasts are sold. We are on SoundCloud. We are on Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Music.
It's Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, whatever it's
Wait,
called.
are we on Stitcher? Did we get on there?
Jake put us on Stitcher.
Yeah.
Jake says he did.
It should be on there.
Okay.
Good.
Jake does things sometimes.
I told you guys.
Do you know what I hate about Stitcher?
Ago.
And I think I also hate the same thing about SoundCloud, but I don't know. I don't like... Actually, no.
Autoplay? I hate that it autoplays.
Well, I do too because it goes backwards. Ostensibly.
It does go backwards, and it picks a random track that you've liked before.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
I don't...
Well, if you're just on, like, the Star to Steer Her By page, it'll just play you the next one.
Yeah.
But what I fucking hate about Stitcher is it'll give you, like, the most recent 10, but then if you want to go back to the beginning, you have to fucking hit load more episodes, like, 45 times to get to the fucking end. It annoys the shit out of me.
That's no fun.
Anyway.
Don't watch us on Stitcher, but do if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you
listen
fucking...
to us on whatever podcast thing you
do it however you like. We're on plenty of the apps, too. We're all on all the apps, so if you have an app you like, go for it. If you would like to find us in other places on the web, on Tumblr and Twitter, we are SSHB Podcast. You can find us on Facebook by searching A Star to Steer Her By, or you can visit us at our home on the web at sshbpodcast.com, which is just a link to our Tumblr. But yeah, thanks for listening. As always, I have been Caitlin.
I have been Jake.
And this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been D, and listeners will always have Paris.
Thank you and good night.
I'll be in my bunk.
Damn it.
I'll be in my DJ deck.
Bunk.
That means bullshit.
I'm insecure in my manhood.